In the 70s, this is fact. If we return back 1 century or 2 century or 3 century or 4 century, we will not find any attitude that is similar to the Bergian who call themselves Shiite attitude. Absolutely. Not in the eastern province, not in north of Yemen. No. The people who are calling themselves Shiite, especially in the Ismailian land, as I have described, those who call themselves Shiite, basically all of them have no relation to the native Arab race. They are Asian people, some of them are African, some of them are Turkish, some of them are from there and there, nothing to do with the Turkestan. And they are, some of them settled in some places in Gulf states. I'm not talking about Yemen now. I have talked about Al-Houthi, but regardless. Now, these people have no root in the Ismailian land. That's it. This is fact. This is fact. I don't need now to add any other details explaining this fact. The case is they are human beings, of course, and they came out from outside and they accepted and they agreed to live with the nation of the Ismailian based on the Ismailian diversity, التنوع. The Ismailian way allowed, for example, a gentleman from Africa before to be an imam, or gentlemen who are not Ismailian to be an imam in the holy masjids. This is the diversity based on our identity and culture and thing, and they accepted this. That's why they settled exactly like me. For example, right now, if someone like me who is accepted to live in the West, he will be accepted as a member of this diversity in a society. The diversity in the West is diversity based on the Western people way, which emerged as a result for 2 centuries of change, and I have talked about this. Why people want to change the diversity in Tanawa in the Ismailian land the way this suits them? And there will be a totally in Middle East reaction, and people just making accusation against the natives, Wahhabis. Anyway, this is not an Islam. This is not the case. The case is that understanding the point that after the revolution of Ayatollah Ali Khomeini, who is a member of the Iranian society, we know that Persia surrounding Tehran is occupying Baluchistan and occupying Ahwazistan and occupying and occupying Kurdistan and Ahwazistan and Baluchistan. I'm talking about the Persians. The Persian territory is surrounding Tehran. Now, after the revolution at the 70s, the revolution basic rule is تصدير الثورة. Ali Khomeini brought a new way of Shiism, of what's called Shiism, and he instructed that I'm not going to talk about the devil, dark groups and things. I'm going to talk about this gentleman. He instructed that the revolution must be distributed again. Okay, the revolution must be distributed. So this revolution starts attacking people in Kuwait, attacking people in Iraq, using the intruders who, based on the race, who are calling themselves Shiite. Okay. Now, and they did a lot of terrorist attack even in the 80s. That's why Saddam Hussein was forced to fight them, and of course the West took advantage and helped Saddam Hussein to sell some weapons and things like that and take the oil in a very cheap prices. I mean, big powers. Now, the case is the Sunnis in Tehran are native Persians again and again. The almost million Sunni in Tehran are native Persians. Some of them are native Baluchis. Some of them are native Ahwazis. Some of them native Kurds. And they are not allowed to perform any type of normal worship the way they used to do for centuries, except in some certain time with the Safavids. But when the Shah was there, in the 18th century, in the 19th century, in the 20th century until the 70s, they used to worship in a free way. Yes, there was some persecution here and here because of the racism. Some groups that call for racism attitude, Persian racist attitude against the other ethnic groups in the 60s and in the 70s. The revolution of Ali Khomeini announced that the Persian comes as a first class and other ethnic groups comes as a second. And the so-called, I call it the so-called Shi'ism, because I am the real Shi'at to the family of Muhammad, because I am the real Shi'at, also I am the real Shi'at to the family of the Messiah, his mother and his grandfather, and I am the real Shi'at of, for example, the family of Moses, his brother Harun. So we need to look into these things. Noah, those who were with him, children and others, Ibrahim, his wife Sarah and Hajar, from the family, they are not the family, okay fine, they are indeed in a way or another. Ahlul Bayt, Ahlul Bayt, Ahlul Bayt, Ahlul Bayt, زوجات الرسول من آل البيت أو أهل البيت آل. Now this is a lot of things here and there. Now the case is Ishmael and Jacob. This is the family, the messengers. I'm talking about the family of a messenger. So I am calling myself a Shi'at, and they are unfortunately calling themselves Shi'at, and I am saying you are the so-called Shi'at, because you are not saying what the family of Muhammad want. And I have the details, and I have provided me and others the details explaining that this is something to do with the neglected Majusiyya, which was reformed by some lord in Persia now after the death of Hussein, to destroy the light liberation that occurred at the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab. Now this is other points, other subjects that need a lot of studying. But the case is, these people are native. So if anyone, for example, with due my great respect to you, come from Bahrain, or come from a place called Qatif, it's mine, it's ours, sorry, it's the Ishmaelian Qatif, Qatifa, Tuqtaf. There is a small minorities who are originally from outside, and they came and they settled, some of them at the time of finding oil coming from Iraq, and some of them at maybe the 30s, especially at the time of colonies, and some of them have escaped from Iraq, some of them escaped from the conflict between Pakistan and India, and they are calling themselves Shiite, and through Iran, Iraq, and they find that it's suitable for them to settle in the Arabian Peninsula. Let's not talk about Al-Addarin, Al-Istimar Al-Farisi, and things like that. These people, unfortunately, are themselves also ignoring the facts and neglecting the facts of how did they enter the Arabian Peninsula and how they used to worship at the 20th, the 30th, the 40th, in a way that was not a threat to the Ishmaelian. This way of worshipping unfortunately changed at the 80s and the 90s of the last century, and after 11 September, the inside job, the war of Iraq, their attitude started to become a big, great threat to the beautiful, loving, lovely Ishmaelian who accepted them and made them live with them. And I am wondering why there is a lot of lies about the Ishmaelian, that they kill and do a lot of, though they lived among them even before the establishment of the Gulf states. Now I understand that my English is not perfect in explanation, but if those who are smarter than me or more knowledge will understand and recognize that I am what I'm trying to say, and what I'm trying to say is absolutely the truth. I am uploading this video to say that anyone comes from a place called saying that he is from Qatif or Ihsa or Kuwait or Bahrain, and go and complain, for example, in the United States of America or in the Human Rights Watch or in Europe, and saying that what Iran is doing to the Sunnis is similar to what the Saudi Arabian government is doing to the Shiites, because in Riyadh there is no Husseiniya. The Husseiniya have nothing to do with Islam. This is something to do with the Majusis, the neglected Majusis ways, which was reformed, regardless, and Safadis and things. No, I answer them and I say, no, there is a big difference. Do not lie, and do not give people opinions without explaining about all truth. You are not originally from the Ismailian territory. 1. 2. You are used by the so-called Israeli state, and you are used by the Iranian and by the West for many satanic dark agenda, for many occupational invading agenda that create reactions. 3. Your way of dealing with the Ismailian have changed since the beginning of the 80s of the previous century, because you start to be affected by a dark signals coming to you from Tehran after the Ayatollah Ali Khomeini revolution. The meaning of Ayatollah means the sign of God, sign that God exists, or the miracle of God's many meaning. Let's say I have a lot of Arabic, depend on the sentence, means signs or a miracle or a verse even of a Quran, but a miracle, Ayatollah, a miracle. All creature of God Almighty are a miracle. Me, you, him, Ayatollah Ali Khomeini, I am Ayatollah. The cockroach is Ayah. It's one of the miracles that if you study how the body work, the spiritual things like that, cockroach, even ant, you will understand that there is a great engineer to this existence, Allah. So it's all a miracle of God. Now, that's why I'm explaining to you. See, I always give the meaning of Ayatollah. It's like a title, Ayatollah. I am right now the Ayatollah. Okay. Explained a lot. Pope, Khalifa, Ayatollah, a lot of things. I'm wonderful. Even the name Messiah. Now, I'm not in the mood. I'm tired today. I'm not tired. Yes, I feel very dizzy. I don't know why. It's calculation of feelings. Now, so they shouldn't lie. They should say that it is not the same. What's in Tehran is not similar to what's in Riyadh. I don't want to say anything that will be against the community compliant guidelines, because they might delete this video. So I don't want it to be deleted. Do you understand me? Do I need to add anything more? I don't think so. I can add tens and hundreds of points. Do not even doubt that. I can add a lot when what I say is absolutely the truth. If you want to criticize what's called the Wahhabist, then criticize it for the accurate reasons. If you would like to criticize the Saudi monarch or the Ismaili native Arabs, you need to remember a lot of things, a lot of facts and true points, so that you would give an accurate conclusion. Otherwise, you are creating unjust, and you are deceiving others, and then you become intruders to humanity. Dark representativism, something else.